So I'm by no means an expert, but I've gotten pretty good at this shipping thing. When you ship out over 2,200 items, vintage breakable items, on Etsy, you kind of get it down. You get a system, and you know what works, and you know what doesn't work. So that's what I'm going to share with you today. It's my tips and suggestions for shipping on Etsy, making sure your packages arrive safely, quickly, on time, and in one piece. And stick around and watch me as I pack up an item for shipment. So here we go. Whenever I've had someone reach out about starting an Etsy business, their questions for me aren't about what I thrift or where I thrift. Their questions are always about shipping. I don't know if you can tell, this is my inventory and my shipping station that I've created here in my garage, and most of my items are breakables. I sell a lot of glassware and dishware, stemware and crystal and breakable things, and I have been fortunate that in the 2,200 plus orders that I've had on Etsy, I can count on one hand how many items have arrived broken. I'm going to go over kind of what I do. I'll give you a little tutorial example of shipping an item because I've got some orders that need to go out. And then I'm going to give you 7 tips of things to remember when it comes to Etsy shipping. So here's what I do. Probably the number one thing people ask me about are boxes. What size I use, where I get them from, all the box questions. So I have whittled it down to 3 sizes that I use. Now this is helpful because when you are creating a listing and you get down there to the shipping profile on the bottom, did y'all hear that? That was a nice little ka-ching. I don't know if you could hear that on my phone. That's nice. It's a book. Okay. Creating a listing and you get down to the shipping profile and it asks for the item's weight and the size. I love that I don't have to spend a lot of time thinking too hard about the size of the box. So I have 3 sizes I use. A 7, and they're all square. 7-inch, 10-inch, and 12-inch. I have found that these sizes work best for me. Now, so depending on what you sell, you're going to figure out the size of box that you will use the most often. I choose these 3 sizes because I found like one of the larger things I'll maybe sell is a dinner plate. Most dinner plates are 10 inches. I can fit that into a 12-inch box on a diagonal and put enough stuff around it to protect it. And so I don't have to think too hard about it. You will get to that point where, at least this is what I found, is that I know right away, oh, this will fit in the 7-inch. That's going to fit in the 12-inch. And so it makes your listings more efficient because you don't have to think real hard of, you've got those 3 choices in the box size and you can quickly fill that out. I will include the link below to the place that I order my boxes in bulk. I get my bubble wrap and my butcher paper, the other 2 consumable shipping products, shipping supplies that I have. I buy those just from a local place here because I think the size and the weight of them make them a lot more expensive with shipping. But even I've found the place I ordered them from, buying in bulk, even paying the shipping cost to have those boxes shipped to me is still cheaper. So worth it. I also buy these little poly mailers. This is just an extra layer of protection sometimes with items I'm worried about, maybe if they got wet. What might happen, and then also these eco-friendly mailers. I'll use these for magazines I sell or books I sell. Most of the books will fit in here. So obviously tape, you need good tape. I buy this in bulk on Amazon. I just use a standard tape gun. It's just easier. I have tried in the past the fancy tape that you have to wet it, that's supposed to be stronger and hold better and all that good stuff. I didn't want to pay the little machine that helps wets the tape. Was expensive, and I just couldn't bring myself to buy it. So I was using the little sponge, and then my table would get wet, and it wasn't very efficient, and so I quickly abandoned that. I am all about this process being efficient and moving as quickly as possible, because it's everybody's least favorite part of the job. Like, create a station, make it efficient so you don't dread it. Because I know it can be one of those things. I think, oh, I've got some orders I need to go ship. And, you kind of have and it should be, I've got orders I need to go ship. Like, you should always be thrilled and excited, because that means you're making money if you have orders that need to go out. So create a station. I've got a laptop, an old Chromebook that sits out here. I've got my Rollo label maker. That is one of the things I bought that I feel like was worth every penny. They're not cheap, but they save you so much time than having to print everything out on your computer. You are using all that printer paper. Most of the paper's wasted because you have to cut it out, and then you use all that tape. It's just worth it. It's so quick and easy. The other thing that you absolutely have to invest in would be a scale. These aren't super expensive. You can find them on Amazon. I have one down here in the garage for shipping, and then I have one that sits up by my desk. So, like I was talking about earlier, knowing the size of your item when you are in the size of your box, I should say, when you are shipping, you also need to know the weight. And that will include your box and the other shipping supplies you're using on the inside. So when I'm doing a listing, I will weigh the item on my scale, and if this is 2 pounds, and I always kind of round up, I'll round up and say, okay, if it's 2 pounds, and then I will add anywhere from 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds on top of that, so that will include the weight of the box and the weight of the shipping materials. So the bubble wrap and the butcher paper that I use. So you might be like, wow, you're doubling the size of, or the weight. Yes, because you'll be surprised how quickly this adds up. And if you don't accurately weigh it and measure it, you will end up losing money on the sale, because you only put it as being 3 pounds and it ends up being 4 pounds. You're charged that difference. The buyer's already paid their shipping cost, and if it's more, then you're paying for that. So I always err on the side of caution. So one of the other things that I invest in are these fragile stickers. Yes, you could absolutely just write on the box, fragile. I do like the stickers because I think they just are a little more eye-catching and will hopefully grab the attention of that carrier. These are the thank you notes that I make on Canva that I put in each box. I think it's just a little personal touch that can go a long way. And I also include on here, I've got a special code for percentage off a next order. So trying to encourage repeat customers. And I include like my social media stuff and my YouTube channel. All right, now comes the part where I'm going to pack up an item to ship out and also share with you 7 tips that you should remember when shipping on Etsy. So I've got this little glass bowl, and I can't get the camera to get me and the table together. So just trust that the first thing I'm doing is taking this butcher paper and wrapping the bowl securely with the paper. Can you even hear me? So it just kind of wrapped up in paper. Now, I'm sure people would accuse me of overkill when it comes to shipping. I'm using this contraption that my husband built for me out of PVC pipe. I told him he should make these and sell them because they hold my huge roll of bubble wrap and make it so I can just pull it, and it's just super handy. So that's the next thing I'm going to do while I tell you about my tip number 1 is to be accurate with this shipping weight and dimensions. I've already talked about this, but I cannot stress it enough. So always be accurate with your weight and dimensions. Okay, I usually, when it comes to using bubble wrap, I'll go around several times till I feel like I can kind of press on it, and I feel like, okay, yeah, I can't really feel the item anymore through the bubble wrap. And then I will just use my tape and secure that bubble wrap all the way around with the tape. Voila! Okay, nice and secure, ready to go. I might add a little more tape just so that bubble wrap doesn't pop off. Again, when you're shipping breakables, my advice is more is better. This isn't a situation where less is more. More bubble wrap, more tape, just better. All right, tip number 2 is to offer free shipping when you can. It's really liked by the algorithm. It helps you make sales, and yeah, everybody likes free shipping. You work it into your price, so you know there's no such thing as free shipping. But yeah, I recommend it. All right, let me grab the box I'm going to use. I've already taped the bottom of this. I'm using a 10 by 10 box. And here's why. I could probably squeeze this in a smaller box. I don't do that because I want the cushion around the item. Top, bottom, sides. I want lots of cushion. I tend to try to make sure there's about 2 inches all the way around the item. So as you can see, when I put this inside, after I get some of my butcher paper in there, and nestle this down in the middle of it, there's plenty of room all the way around to keep it protected throughout its shipping process. So tip number 3, this is just a good rule of thumb with any business, shipping or otherwise. Under promise and over deliver. And what I mean with that is when I'm referring to your processing times. You under promise, you can't over deliver, because if you say it's going to take me 3 to 5 days and you're able to process it and get it out the door in 2 days, and a buyer receives it sooner than expected, like, they're going to be thrilled to get it early. So under promise and over deliver when it comes to processing times. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my butcher paper. I'm just going to wad up a couple pieces, put it in the bottom. So, right, it's just pretty basic. And I'm going to set this right in the middle, nestle it in the middle so that, right, it's got a nice cushion on the bottom. It's already cushioned because of the bubble wrap, but then I take more butcher paper, and this is going to seem like I use a lot of butcher paper, but it's not that much. My main thing with shipping breakables is that you don't want it to move. You don't want your item to be able to shift. Like, you want to make it so secure that that little sucker is down in there. So I always really wedge the butcher paper that it makes it so that the item can't move, right? I'm not even done yet. I'm not even done yet, and that item's getting nice and secure in there. So it's going to have the padding all around the end, but it's also, right, it's got the cushion, but it can't move. So it can't, right, you don't want your item banging around in the box. So just always keep that in mind. When I very first started shipping, I was way overkill. I wrapped everything in bubble wrap, and then I surrounded it in peanuts. And the peanuts were expensive because I bought the kind that dissolve in water, and I guess they're compostable, and I felt better about that. I didn't want to buy styrofoam peanuts because those are so bad for the planet. So I paid up to do those peanuts, and after a while it was like, you know what, I don't need to be doing that. That's a little too much. This butcher paper works just fine and is also recyclable. So, and then I just do a couple more on top. Like so. So now it's all in there. All right. Tip number 4 is to create shipping profiles in Etsy. I create 3. I have a standard, a free shipping profile, and a media mail profile. This just makes your listing even more efficient. It goes a lot quicker so that all the boxes are checked. Now, you're still going to have to include the weight and the size of each item, but I love that then I can just click it's a standard shipping, or it's free shipping, or it's media mail, and then all those other boxes are checked. Etsy makes it really simple to do these profiles, so it's really self-explanatory, but that will save you a lot of time. Fill out all that information from the get-go. I also, in the shipping profiles, in my standard, I offer ground, like USPS ground, which is going to be the slower option, and then also the person can upgrade to a priority, which is going to cost a little bit more, but get there a little bit faster. So I make those 2 options available, so the buyer on a drop-down menu can choose between those 2 options. Okay, so I've got the butcher paper on the top. I grab one of my ready-made thank you cards, lay that right on top, to fold it up, to tape up the top. Uh-oh. My tape's out. All right, we're back in business. New tape. All right, all taped up. And tip number 5, quality supplies. Invest in quality shipping supplies. I like that this is a fresh new box. There's no dents. There's no, damage to this box. Just makes me feel a little bit better that this is going to arrive safely. I think it's very nerve-wracking as a vintage reseller for breakable things. This shipping is the most nerve-wracking part, and I think it's the part that puts people off on shipping breakables because they're just so afraid that it's going to arrive broken. And I get it. Like, I worry about that every single time something goes out. I think, oh, I just hope that arrives in one piece. I should knock on wood or something. But investing in good quality supplies just eases a lot of that concern. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to include one of my, because it's a breakable item, I'm going to include a fragile sticker. I'm going to put it right up here near where I'm going to print off the shipping label. And so I'm going to get here on my laptop and go down to this item. I'm going to double check, even though I did all this with the listing. When I did the listing originally, I always double check the weight of the box just to be sure that I'm accurate with it. And I'm good. Print off my label with my Rolo label maker, which saves so much time. Worth every penny. There it goes. Got my label to stick on. There we go. So tip number 6 is to include your shipping policies in your listing. Just be upfront with everybody about what your shipping policies are. Really any of your shop policies, if you can include that in your descriptions. And also in your FAQs, that's another place that you can include your shipping policies. And so people know what to expect. And especially with things like if you accept returns and exchanges, or if you'll accept an order cancellation, just anything, like be honest and upfront and put it all out there, so there are no questions about it at all. My last tip number 7, is I choose to ship through Etsy instead of using another external party to ship through. And there's some good ones out there, and I know a lot of people use them. The reason I choose to ship through Etsy, there's a couple different reasons. One is because you get, I think it's up to 30% off the retail price when you ship through Etsy. And also I like the protection that is provided through when I ship through Etsy. For example, I sold a champagne bucket, and I sold it was like over $100, and long story short, it got lost in the mail. So right, Etsy had the record that I had shipped it, and I had a UPS or a USPS tracking for it. The buyer and I were in communication about how it hadn't arrived, and I was checking on tracking, and she was as well. And you know what? It didn't show up. It was a goner. So the great thing was that both the buyer and me as the seller were both protected. The buyer got her money back, and I didn't have to refund anything because it wasn't my fault. So I was protected because I had used Etsy to ship through. You don't have to do that, but I've done that since the beginning. I've had, I think, 1 or 2 things that arrived. I had a package that was stolen by a porch pirate. Anyway, that's what the buyer claimed, and I believed her. And so that was, once again, not my fault and not her fault. So she was refunded. Etsy refunded her cost, and I didn't lose out on the money that I had made on that as well. So I love the protection that Etsy provides through that. So those are my 7 tips to remember when you're shipping. I hope some of this has been helpful. I am by no means an Etsy shipping expert, but I feel like I've gotten it down to a little bit of a science. And as you witnessed, like when I was getting this package ready, it's pretty quick and painless. When you've got all your shipping supplies ready within arm's reach. I keep my inventory close by as well here in my garage, making it super easy to pull things for orders. I'm big on things being efficient and moving quickly. It helps me to be more successful, helps me get those items processed quicker so I can have the 1 to 2 day processing time, which Etsy likes and buyers like. Getting things out on time, shipped safely and quickly. It's all anybody could want. So if you have any tips or advice about shipping on Etsy or any other questions, please put it down in the comments and let me know, and I will respond to you quickly and efficiently as I can. And be sure to check out, I've got another great video about ways that I've been profitable on Etsy. From day one, I've been lucky to have a great business that I've made money from the very beginning. So, and knock on wood, I'll continue to do so. But I've got a lot more orders that need to be processed and shipped out on time. So thanks for being here, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.
I got a lamp. I picked it up on the side of the street. Do you want it?
Wait, hang on. You what?
I picked up a lamp on the side of the street.
Yeah, I want it.
It looks like Something you would like.
Like, yeah, like out for trash day?
Trash day.
See, this is when you've raised your husband right. He brings home
Trash.
He brings home trash. That's not trash. That's
not
treasure.
trash.
That's all profit is what that is.
That's right.
Good job, honey. Thank you.